Steve Bannon is on trial. Remember, he's the one who refused the January 6th committee's subpoena. Well, guess what happened, y'all? First of all, the prosecution is already arrested, and today they played numerous videos of Bannon repeatedly saying how he was going to defy the January 6th subpoenas. Monique, I'll start with you. This seems like a pretty cut and dry case for the folks. And of course, Bannon tried to come in late, say, "Oh, hey, I'll be happy to testify only if it's live." And they're like, "Nah, player, too late, you screwed up." I'm glad to see the Department of Justice going after an idiot like him for thumbing their nose at a congressional committee. And of course, he tried to say he would testify because Trump released him from executive privilege. He didn't have none.
No, he didn't have any. And this is not a case of someone making that mistake who did not have the benefit of counsel. He's got plenty of money. He had lawyers who were responding for him the whole time. So he can't say that he didn't know any better. He did. I think the consequences are going to be de minimis. I think that there probably will be some deal struck. But this is just the beginning of the consequences he'll be paying going forward.
Any possible jail time here, Robert? Do you know?
Unlikely. Let's remember that despite the fact that Steve Bannon admitted to everything that he did on camera, let's be for real. What he's charged with, violating subpoena, lying to Congress, failing to testify, those aren't going to really. We're talking about putting him away under the Espionage Act or under treason or something along those lines. What Steve Bannon is doing, he has the calculated risk that, guess what? Whether or not whatever the penalty that I have will be less severe than the penalty for rolling over and incriminating President Trump. The only reason that he wanted to testify live was President Trump wanted somebody to go to the Capitol and defend him, to present the counter argument, to present the pro-insurgency argument during the insurrection. And because nobody was doing so, President Trump, quote unquote, released him from executive privilege so that he could go and put on a show for President Trump to get some counter programming out there. The committee did not fall for that. So Steve Bannon understands that even if he did go to jail, let's say it was for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, then he'll come back to his radio show, his podcast, and everything else that he has, and his media empire and the money he will make will be even more. So the benefit for him is on staying loyal to Trump, not on being on the side of the American people or the truth.
Jason.
Yeah, I agree with Robert, particularly with that last point about, if you've ever met people who watch, War Room, and they love conspiracies. They love the idea of the deep state, that there's some sort of, huge bureaucracy that wants to take down the little guy and anyone who speaks out. So I think, honestly, if he actually did jail time, that would actually benefit him in a lot of ways. It would bolster this idea that he's fighting these big invisible powers of the government. And that's exactly the kind of thing that he would want. Now, I don't know he looks like he's done 50 years in jail if you look at him. But when you take his audience and the kind of things that he sells them, I think that they would actually eat that up, that, he's being victimized. You saw how General Flynn became this kind of, figure for this alt-right audience, because he was supposedly mistreated by the FBI and by, the big deep state, as they call it. So I think that this would actually benefit him. I agree also that he wanted to testify before Congress to make it kind of a crap show so that it would run all over Fox News and other conservative outlets, and they could sit there and say, hey, look at this counter argument. And try to discount everything that happened. And you're seeing, where they're making the people who actually stand up, kind of pariahs within the Republican Party. The Arizona Republican Party just censured that gentleman from Arizona, whose name is escaping me at the moment, but they censured him just for having some integrity.
The House Speaker. The House Speaker.
Right. Yeah. And they censured him. We already know that Liz Cheney is probably going to lose in in Wyoming. So I think that, unfortunately, with all of the bombshells, I think if this were 1972 or even 1992, I think that this would be, incredible, unbelievable information that's coming out of this committee. But we're in 2022, and right now, only about a quarter of the country is really paying attention. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of this information isn't getting through, and I think a lot of Americans aren't taking the threat seriously.
And just real quick on that point, I find it interesting that. Yeah, I find it interesting that people believe this act that Steve Bannon puts on. This pro little guy, working class, slub, kind of looks disheveled, looks a little dirty and unkept, like he's just a real working man. When they arrested him for embezzling all that money that they built those idiots out for building the wall, for people who forgot, Steve Bannon was indicted for stealing money that was supposed to go towards building a private border wall. They found him on a $500 million yacht. These people do not represent the little guy. They are not part of the same deep state conspiracies that the rest of them. The 1% they're talking about, they are part of, and they're putting on an act to make it seem like they represent the little guy.
Well, I never trust somebody who wears 3 shirts. That means they must have some massive body odor.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?